part 2 of my discussion of part 1 of Naruto. If you didn't see my part 1 video where I talk about the first 12 volumes of part 1 of Naruto, watch that first probably because it talks about the first 12 volumes. Now I'm going to talk about the next 15, I believe, bringing us to the end of the part 1. Bringing us to volume 27 of Naruto. So this, if you don't know, this is my first time reading through the series, so I am not the smartest person in the room, I'm not the most knowledgeable person in the room, but if you want my thoughts as a brand new reader who went into this series knowing nothing, completely spoiler-free, I'm new to manga generally, relatively speaking. I've been very obsessed with One Piece, and I'm finally branching out to other series, and Naruto is next on the list. And these are my first time thoughts of the series. This video is titled probably something along the lines of the best scenes so far. The reason being because this section, I've split these two videos up not perfectly in the center because right around here is when we kick into what is, in my opinion, what contains the best scenes of the series so far. Part 1, I had some highs, I had some lows that I wanted to talk about, some things I wanted to whine about, some things I wanted to praise, and this section is going to be a lot more praise. So this video is going to kick off with Gaara and Sasuke and a couple of things that happened before the battle actually started. First of all, we learned that Gaara kills indiscriminately, without thought, without consideration. He has no problem with it. He just kills if someone is in his way. And then he speaks to the sand, I suppose, and talks about, "Mom, I'm feeding you these people's blood. Did that one taste good? Don't worry, I'll get some good blood for you." The kid is tormented. He has a lot going on inside of him. And at the same time, we also have Rock Lee kind of going through a range of emotions, being really excited for his friends and wanting their success, but also feeling jealous and struggling through the fact that he has worked so hard and it's still not enough every time. So Sasuke returns from his mentoring with Kakashi. One, he now uses Rock Lee's moves, and I don't know how I feel about that entirely because he learned them in a month when it took Rock Lee, I don't know, years of training to get here, and I know that Sasuke can do it because he's seen it already with Rock Lee and he knows Rock Lee, so he has a learning curve, I guess, and also he is, life isn't always fair. Sometimes some people are just more skilled than you are, but a month feels just like a slap in the face a little bit, and I feel bad for Lee. But he also shows us that Kakashi has taught him his lightning 100-bird strike, and it looks incredible. Oh my goodness, this is probably my favorite. Oh, I don't know. This is in my top. This and Gaara, I think, are my favorite two moves visually. I love the way Gaara looks when he's fighting, with how the sand moves and the really unique ways he uses it as a defense, as a shell, as an attack. But I also just think that Sasuke's moves look amazing in the manga, but even better in the anime. Oh my goodness. I still haven't watched very much of the anime, but I am picking key scenes to watch in motion. And Sasuke looks amazing. I also love in this fight that there's some internal stuff that's reflecting the external. Like, Gaara is stuck in his shell. He's made this armor as a defense to try to keep Sasuke from doing any damage. And at the same time, internally, he's trying to work through the shell that he's created, asking himself, what purpose do I exist? Why am I alive? What is my reason? And Sasuke is able to break through his shell and issue some damage. And that really also reflects the fact that Sasuke is able to break through his internal shell and his internal armor as well, that he is doing his transformation too early. He's not following the plan, and then when he does do a transformation, he's not able to do it entirely at first. It's like this sort of half done, like half of his body is transformed and then another layer of that, and then finally he can reach his full transformation. So he's really internally battling the same way that he is externally, and internally Sasuke is breaking through that armor and breaking through the defenses that he's laid, just like he is externally. And I really like that those two things, that this fight has that duality. At the same time, we're learning a lot more about Orochimaru. He has kidnapped the third Hokage. Hokage. I think I said it wrong in the last video. I am primarily reading the series and I'm not watching a lot of it, so some of my pronunciations are really bad and I'm truly sorry for that, but I'm trying to correct the ones that I've learned are wrong. So the third Hokage, he's kidnapped. It turns out he has a history with him. He once trained under him and wanted to become the fourth, but he wasn't selected because of his twisted nature. I also really like the duality in these two characters as well, in that the third Hokage is growing older, and because of that, he doesn't have as much control over his chakra. It's not as strong anymore. He's not at his full strength. Meanwhile, we have Orochimaru, who he has obtained some level of immortality. I mean, he can be killed, but he's been seeking immortality and has been successful up to this point on a level, and he's more youthful than he should be. He's more powerful than he should be, and he's on this quest to learn all forms of jutsu. Now I'm concerned that I'm saying that wrong too. He wants to learn all the things and to have all the power available to him, and he will do anything that it takes to gain that power, which fits really nicely in with the themes and with the struggle that we see with Sasuke as well. But I also really like the duality of these two in that, so this is a war-torn world. This is a series where there's constant war happening, and because of that, the shinobi are constantly in action, and they're even raised up to defend their villages and to die for their villages. So we have children who are trained up as warriors, which we're obviously seeing throughout this entire series, and we're seeing how this affects them. We're seeing how this mentally changes them in a lot of ways because of the way of the shinobi, because of the isolation, because of the pain, because of the loss, because of the people that war tears from them, and because of how this life forces them to try to become emotionless or to be isolated. Like there's a lot of layers in what this war-torn world and the systems that they've put at play in order to survive it, how that has caused so much trauma on these characters. So you have the Hokage, who I forgive him for being like a Dumbledore, essentially, where you have the main character who's being bullied and being mistreated and isolated and just deeply depressed. And then you have like the wise old mentor who just kind of watched. And I forgive him for that because, I don't know, what could he have done? Be nice to that kid, even though this is a generational issue, and I don't know. People have issues with Dumbledore too, and I kind of do too. It's just, it's one of those kind of gray, what do we do with this? The story needs it, what do we do? Kind of situations. But also, it's the fact that he's leading this group of child soldiers, essentially. And it's just one of those really interesting moral situations where I don't entirely know what to do with the Hokage, because the third Hokage, because he clearly loves these kids. I mean, he calls them his family, and he cares for them deeply, and he's trying to create a sort of family within this horrible situation. So I guess that's how I slot him in the moral spectrum, is that it doesn't feel comfortable to see some of the decisions made because this is war, and war is horrifying, right? Like, is that the decision I'm supposed to? I feel like I need to reread this series in order to know what to do with Hokage. But anyway, I do like the parallel between the two. The third Hokage, that's not his name. But I do like the parallel between these two in that the third Hokage has this group of people that he's raising up, that he's training to fight, that he's training to die for the cause. And then you also have Orochimaru, who's collecting his pets, as they call themselves, who he is training to be isolated, who he's training to be ruthless, they're having similar trainings, but one with an emphasis on camaraderie and love because of the people, and one that has an emphasis on whatever it takes. And then we even see a little flash in his past of him actually using people for experimentation, and it's really horrifying. Anyway, their fight was crazy, and this is one that I haven't watched back in the anime yet, but I really want to, with the god of death and with the hand that's grabbing them, and the third Hokage is trying to take him with him. Like, he knows, I've I've doomed myself to death at this point by using this, but I'm going to take you with me. And this leaves Orochimaru for the rest of this section in dire health. His arms, he can't use them anymore. He's bleeding constantly. He seems to be on the brink of death, which is why he too is going to be seeking a healer moving forward. So I really enjoyed this section. I tried to get through it kind of quickly and failed a little bit because there's other sections that I want to put more emphasis on. But I do really like the buildup of Orochimaru, his motivations, what he'll do, what he'll do in order to get what he wants, and how that ties in with other characters that have similar goals, as well as showing the difference between Orochimaru's goals and methods versus Leaf Village's goals and methods. Okay, so back to the big fight with Gaara and Sasuke. All that kind of interrupted this fight. So Gaara feels like he really understands Sasuke at this point. He has those angry, tortured eyes that Gaara understands. He knows the need to kill. He knows the isolation and pain that Sasuke lives in, but Sasuke has friends, and that doesn't make sense to Gaara. He's like Gaara, but he's loved, and that tears Gaara apart. It makes him undone. He can't stay focused, he can't stay on plan, and like I said before, he can't reach his transformation like he should. Seeing someone who's so like him in his eyes, but also in what's going on internally, but he's loved, torments him. And Sasuke is obviously an extremely tormented character as well. We talked about that a little bit in the first video, and we will talk about it more in this video, but he's obviously a really tormented character as well. And for him, it's more focused on needing to be the best, needing to be strong enough, needing to have enough power to be able to get revenge for the people that he's lost, the people who he saw die and was tortured with that information. So naturally, when Sasuke's curse starts to take him over and he becomes immobilized, and then Naruto comes in and saves Sasuke, that doesn't help his internal struggles at all. But I'm really, really glad that we took the time to see what got Gaara to this point. Seeing him so isolated and hated as a child because of how he was born. He didn't have that love that was a turning point for Naruto. He was haunted by the spirit when he slept, so he can't sleep out of fear. And when he was awake, he was so hungry for any sort of connection that he ended up causing greater fear in other people because of this curse. He was so filled with pain that he didn't want to live, but he wasn't even able to take his own life because of this curse. And when he told his caregiver that he doesn't bleed, but it hurts right here in his chest, he said, "It always hurts. It doesn't bleed, but it hurts right here." That innocent, childlike explanation of loneliness was so effective. And then the scene where his aunt who raised him tried to kill him, and she revealed that his father sent her to do it, that his aunt never loved him. Even though she tried, she wasn't able to. She couldn't. And even his mother never loved him. She gave him the name so that he would have that philosophy to love himself and to fight only for himself so that he could survive and be a reminder to the world of her hatred. His aunt had told him that cures of the heart can only be received by another through love. Then she told him that he was never loved, that he never would be loved, and that he didn't deserve love. This poor, lonely, broken child, all he wanted in life was love. And he believed that his mother loved him, that his aunt loved him, and that he was worthy of some form of love, but he still felt so lonely and he sought more, only to learn that even the love he thought he had was not present. And in fact, he was taught that he was completely undeserving of that love. It's natural for us to start drawing these parallels between Gaara and Naruto as we're seeing Gaara's flashback, to see that he is a child who had a curse put on him that he didn't choose and was hated and isolated because of that, and how damaging that was and how much that hurt him. And that culminates to a scene where in Naruto's story in Volume 1, he has a display of love, one that he felt he didn't deserve and that he didn't understand, and that shaped him. And for Gaara, that scene should have been, or we would have expected it to have been, something similar, but instead for him, it was a scene of, you are unworthy, you will never be loved, you never were loved. So we see that Gaara is essentially the dark timeline Naruto. He is what Naruto would have been if he never had that display of love and that display of loyalty. Gaara is a child who's been subject to the same things but never given any mercy. I did love the imagery in this one where it drew that parallel for us through the mirrored image and through Gaara's mirrored part cracking and Naruto laying his head against it. As we're seeing Gaara's armor crack and shatter in real life, we're seeing the backstory of how he, as a human, cracked and shattered. I also really appreciate after they go into full fight mode, we get to see Fox Spirit in full form, and we see these two go head to head, that it's a headbutt that actually finishes it, which is nice because in that paralleled image with the mirror, you have Naruto laying his head against the glass and it cracking, and then we see Naruto with the headbutt being the thing that actually stops Gaara. Now, this fight was incredible. Everything that led up to this fight was incredible. It's the aftermath of the fight that might be my favorite scene of the series so far. Naruto drug himself to be able to speak to Gaara at the end of this fight when they were both spent. I really think that in this scene, Naruto was the display of love that Gaara has been craving his entire life, and that his personal character arc was lacking. It may not have been the same kind of display of love that Haku or that Naruto got, and Lee and many others, but he told him that he understands his hurt and he showed him a real kindness and tenderness. And look at Gaara's face. This is an encounter that he's never had before, and it's something that means something great to him. Now he's had someone see through the spirit that torments him and see him as Gaara and still show him kindness. Then he followed that up by speaking on the relationships that Naruto is fighting for, solidifying that camaraderie that is essential to the core themes of this story. Gaara asks the question, why should you care about others? And then he reflects that perhaps someday, and then it cuts to the kanji that says love. I really think that here he's reflecting on the fact that Naruto understands him, that Naruto has been through something similar this whole time. Gaara has been comparing himself to Sasuke. He's been looking at Sasuke and saying, I understand you. You have hate in your eyes. You have revenge in your heart. You want to kill. You and I are one. And he's been understanding Sasuke. And then here Naruto is, who shocks Gaara by understanding him. And then Gaara reflects on his own life and thinks, is there hope for me? That maybe someday I could experience love as well? This isn't the same act of love that Naruto experienced that changed him, that changed the trajectory of his life. But it is a start. It's hope that maybe Gaara could have that experience too. At least I think. That's the way I interpreted this scene, and I really loved it. The story constantly has scenes where words change a person's arc. Words change the trajectory that a person is going on. Over and over again, this happens with the side characters and with the main characters alike. And I don't know how Gaara's arc ends, but I just really hope for the kid. I just really hope for him. The funeral for the third Hokage was a really great scene. I love the way sadness is portrayed in this series. It's almost always coupled with rain, or at least from my perspective, that's what I've tied to it a lot of times, and how these characters have these sort of solemn, stark faces in the midst of that sadness. It also, I think, probably is indicative to the fact that they're taught not to cry and not to show emotion, and so it's almost like external factors are being that sort of release for them, like the rain is the release for the tears that they're not supposed to shed, which only makes it, when characters do cry in this series, it only makes that so much more impactful of a scene. Also, Jiraiya, I offended so many people by not learning his name in the last video, so I learned it for you. But I bet I'm saying it wrong. Jiraiya, that looks right to me. The perv ninja. He is given the title, or at least they try to give him the title of the fourth Hokage, but he refuses and instead suggests, I don't know how to say her name either, Tsunade? That can't be right. Tsunade? I'm gonna go with that. I'm sorry. Anyway, he thinks that she's gonna be the right choice, and I tend to agree. I think she's gonna be amazing in this role, and he offers to hunt her down and takes Naruto with him because Naruto, well, one, he has a target on his back, and two, he has the will or the spirit, he has the ambition of a Hokage himself. And I think he probably, because he knows Tsunade, because he knows her so well, he probably knows that Naruto is going to kind of rekindle that hope because he will remind her of those that she lost. I love Itachi. He showed up and it was horrifying. He is such a fascinating character that I'm so excited to learn more about, but every new layer that we peel back about why he did what he did, when we get the flashback, I'm getting ahead of myself, of his childhood and how he acted as a kid, and the reasons he does what he does and the callousness of it is fascinating to me. I love his character so much. I love that he shows up to these really strong people and they start to fight him and he's just like, this is nothing to me. Like, it doesn't even faze him. His Tsunade dreamscape, which I've learned that some of these moves are translated differently in Viz than they are in the anime or in fan translations, so we may have different we may have different names for these things, but what it's called in Viz or Shonen Jump, I was reading in Shonen Jump, I think it's the same thing, is Tsunade dreamscape. And it's a true terror. He pulled Kakashi into this other realm where he controls time and space and subjected him to just being stabbed over and over and over again for 3 days straight. And then when he snaps out of it, Kakashi collapses and everyone around him is like, what? You were fine 1 second ago, because time stopped, because to everyone else, nothing has moved. And to Kakashi, he's just been tortured for 3 days and now he has to stand up. That's a terrifying, and this can all happen just by looking him in the eyes. I love Guy, who shows up and is like, everybody just have a look at his feet. Like, let's be smart and let's be able to fight just by looking at his feet. Guy is such a great character. He's just, I love Guy. We also learned that Itachi is a part of the same group as Orochimaru, sorry, One Piece nerd. The same group that Orochimaru is in, and he too is seeking to be able to attain all of the different forms of jutsu and all the power. He wants it all. Or searching for new jutsu, I think is what Itachi specifically is doing, which is why he's after Naruto, which is why he's after the fox spirit, because of the amount of chakra that it contains. Meanwhile, we have everything that's going on with Sasuke. It's killing him that there isn't as big of a gap between Sasuke and Naruto as he has thought, or as it always has seemed like there is. Sasuke has always been the most skilled of the three of them, the most inherently talented, and also the smartest. I mean, he's the best of the group. And now that gap is severely, quickly closing, and that's killing him. On top of that, he learns that his brother, the one that he's living to kill, the one that his whole life purpose is to get revenge on, is in town, but he's after Naruto. Sasuke has had a childhood where he has never been able to keep up with his brother. His brother has always been the prodigy, he's always been the one that his dad pays more attention to, he's always been the one, and Sasuke has worked so hard to narrow that gap. He's worked so hard to be able to be recognized by his father, and it's only through that extreme skill, it's only through incredible improvement that he's finally gotten approval of his father, only to have all of that ripped from him when his brother killed everyone and then tortured him for, I think it was 24 hours. No, 72 hours? For too long. Tortured him, but this time, not with knives like he did with Kakashi. Not this time, this came first. We're talking about a flashback now. When they were children, not with knives like he did with Kakashi, but I believe he tortured him with having to watch his family die over and over again, with mental torture. I mean, it's not just the comparison stuff, which gets to any kid, but tack that on with after watching his entire, or after coming on his entire village after they were slaughtered. No wonder this kid is so tortured. Like, no wonder Sasuke is working through, he's fighting some real demons. So attach that to the fact that his best friend, who he loves dearly, he also has this rivalry with, and it really is getting to him that he's not the best anymore, or that he's quickly losing that title, that Naruto is catching up to him really, really quickly, and he doesn't want to be outdone again. He doesn't want to be second best again. He wants to be the best. So then his brother comes into town. Sasuke finds his brother after Itachi has found Naruto, then Sasuke finds him, and Sasuke has Itachi's full attention, only to lose it and for Itachi to just kind of shove him aside so he can focus on Naruto. It's like salt in the greatest wound. We're back to Gaara's question. Why am I alive? Sasuke is asking that same question. Why am I alive? What purpose is my life? And his answer is this. This is my purpose. To fight my brother, to avenge my people. That's his whole life purpose. And then here he is watching the kid who he already loves dearly but has this struggle with because he's seeing him advance. We now see his brother, his purpose, the reason he's alive, deem him valueless, not give him the time and attention, not give him the time of day, because his focus is on Naruto. And the way he's batted aside, not only physically, but he's also once again trapped into that mental torture for an additional 24 hours, just as a sort of like hand wave. Like, that's the way I read this scene, is Itachi was basically hand waving Sasuke away by subjecting him to more torture because he just wanted him to get out of the way so he could focus on what he actually cared about, Naruto. I feel like this scene is a huge piece of the deciding factor of what makes Sasuke seek out more power, whatever it takes, and to seek out a path apart from Naruto. So Naruto has to kind of relearn some magic or some chakra usage that he learned previously. I mean, he was walking up trees because he had to focus his chakra in an isolated place, and now he's kind of relearning that and learning it to an extreme with this chakra ball that he trains to learn to use. I think it was a really effective training montage. I don't know how long it was in the anime, but in the manga, it really wasn't super long. It was a pretty condensed montage that did a good job of also showcasing how unbelievably hard Naruto worked for this. He trained every waking second and pushed himself to his limits to be able to figure out this move. So I like to see the determination in him. I like to see that even though he is inhabited by this spirit that has all the chakra, that is very, very powerful, even though he does have that ability that is both a curse on his life and an asset to power, he still has to work so hard to improve. And we actually see that effort on page, which I like. Tsunade is an amazing character. When we finally get to meet her, oh man, I love her so much. She, like so many other people in this series, is someone who has a guard up, she has a facade, she has a demeanor that kind of masks the amount of inner pain and turmoil that she carries with her every day because of this war, because of this hard, painful life that they're having to live through. She hurt so much from losing the two people that she cared about the most. And when Orochimaru promises to reanimate them for her, that's near torture, because all she wants is to be able to hold them one more time. Her flashback was so effective, especially with the quick changes of her kissing them on the forehead and giving them the necklace, and then the pain of losing them accompanied by the rain. The death that brought on the trauma that causes her to freeze at the sight of blood is written in a way that makes it so understandable to us why she carries this with her and why she can't shake it. And it makes seeing her overcome that really satisfying. She's so strong, both physically, being able to split the earth with a touch. I did just say that my two favorite fighting styles to see in action were Sasuke and Gaara, but I'm actually now we have our top three. It's gonna be her because she can touch the ground and split it open. Like, her strength is unbelievable. So she's so strong physically, but also emotionally to hold all this pain and still have the capacity to love and to have hope. In this fight, she wouldn't stop fighting for Naruto, even when it near killed her. And she does take on the title of the 5th Hokage, even though previously she said she never would. Seeing Naruto hold the same dreams as those that she lost, it restored her hope and her ambition to do something in this world. And the scene where she kisses him on the forehead, accepting him as a part of her family because of how much he reminds her of them. I love that. Naruto too has some great scenes in this fight. I love when they arrive and everybody looks so cool, and then Naruto shows up and he sees the guy with the glasses and just goes, ah! That's so funny to me. But also the fight when he masters his chakra ball and he shoves it into Glasses guy, rips a hole in him, and actually does, even though he's able to start healing, like he does fall, like it does the job. And I love the tenderness in the scene right before he passes out and right after. The bond between these two that's built in this scene is really beautiful, and I hope we get to see these two interact a little bit more. I hope we get to actually see them continue to build up this bond and become family to each other. Oh, also after this fight, I love the panel where Sasuke is in the hospital and Sakura runs up and hugs him, and you can actually see Naruto's reaction to that, his slow sort of acceptance. It's like we can see Naruto maturing on page, because previously that would have really bothered him. He would have reacted like a 12-year-old because they're 12-year-olds. Are they 12-year-olds? That's what they are in my brain. They're children. And he acts like it. But we're seeing him mature. We're seeing him have more mature responses to situations like this, and I love to see it. But then Sasuke challenges him to a fight, and he accepts immediately, and then we get the water tower scene, where they both go at each other with their new killer moves, and they're about to attack, life or death. And Kakashi thankfully steps in and grabs them and chucks them at the water tower. We can see the damage that Sasuke has done when Kakashi asks if he was actually trying to kill Naruto. And then we see his face change when he looks at the damage Naruto's attack did. And again, it just reminds us of this thing that Sasuke is struggling through, and that's that comparison that started when he was a child and is happening now with his best friend, and this realization that Naruto is not only catching up, but he's passing him by, and that torments him. And Kakashi, again, kind of belabors the point, lays it all out for us that Naruto too is just looking for approval from his friend. He just wants his friend to recognize him and to appreciate his progress, but Sasuke refuses to give that to him, which has caused them both to have this pent up anger at each other. Now, I will say, I find this fight to be a wee bit abrupt on Naruto's side. I don't find it to be abrupt on Sasuke's side. We've watched this tension build up in him. We've gotten the backstory. We see why he's struggling with his best friend so much. Naruto, when Sasuke's like, hey, we're gonna fight now, and Naruto's like, yeah, let me get my ball of chakra that cuts through a tree and that shredded this other guy open and his insides exposed. Let me grab that and let's fight. It's so extreme, and I know that they're kids and they're idiots and they're just like two kids with a lot of built up trauma and tension and pain, and they're directing it at each other, but also for Naruto to go into the most extreme, to me it felt like he went into kill mode right alongside Sasuke. We'll never know because Kakashi stopped them, but for me, Sasuke getting to this point made perfect sense. Naruto, it felt like a flip got switched in him almost. Like he was not this aggressive towards Sasuke until this singular scene. Now, I've been told that the anime actually fixes this a little bit with its filler. It kind of builds this up a little bit more smoothly than the manga did. But again, the Sasuke jumping into this fight makes perfect sense to me. Naruto, on the other hand, that felt real abrupt. Not a huge complaint, not a big deal, but it did kind of jar me a little bit. I love the scene where Kakashi confronts Sasuke and tries to get him to make things right between the two. And he tells him that the most precious people to him have already been killed. Again, over and over again, we see this. People who have been affected by this way of life, have been affected by this war and lost so much. And they have these masks, they have these facades that they hold up, but inside there's so much pain that they're carrying. And we see people like Kakashi who are making a point. They're giving so much effort into trying to keep these people together, to not let them follow the path of isolation because they see how destructive it is, and they want them to have specifically in the case of Kakashi, I really view this scene differently after, reading the final volume. He doesn't want them to go through what he went through. He doesn't want them to learn the lessons he had to learn the hard way. He wants to keep them together. He wants to teach them from what he's learned. Stay together. Be comrades. Don't lose each other. Don't learn this when it's too late. While all this is going on, Lee is going through his own really tough time. Man. Learning that he has to get this surgery, this magical surgery, that if he doesn't get, he has to surrender his dreams, and if he does get it, then he only has a 50% chance of survival. And this kills him. I love Lee and Guy so much. We got to see when Lee was young and Guy believed in him and told him, "You are a genius at hard work." He taught Lee to believe in himself. But now, in the face of an illness that could take his dream from him or his life, it's the hardest thing he's ever gone through. The scene where he begged Guy to teach him how to overcome this too, that killed me. Sickness isn't something that you can train to overcome. Sickness isn't something that, as a parent, which I now view Guy as Lee's parent, you don't get to correct me on that. As a parent, you can't, if your kid comes to you and says, "Teach me how to overcome this sickness, teach me what to do, what do I do when my sickness is stealing my life from me?" How do you respond to that? How do you answer that as a parent or as a mentor who's basically a parent to him? Like, what do you say? This scene really got to me in a personal way. Seeing Lee, who will work so hard, he will devote everything to improving, and then finding a hurdle that he physically can't just train past. Seeing him tearfully turn to Guy and ask him, "What do I do? How do I beat this one?" And like, what is the answer to that? Guy told him to follow his dream, and he told him that Guy's dream is to make him into a splendid ninja. So if Lee doesn't make it through this, then Guy won't either. And I don't know if that's the right answer, but it was the thing that gave Lee the hope to be able to move forward. It gave him the hope that he needed. I think the scene was beautiful. I loved it so much. So now Orochimaru has sent his pets to Sasuke to give him guidance. So that guidance to get more power, coupled with Sasuke feeling understood, as this curse is something that's overtaking him, but he can't let it overtake him. He now sees other people who are cursed in a similar way. He has camaraderie in this path of power, of seeking more power whenever it takes. Along with that, we also see Sakura begging Sasuke to stay with her. It was a really sad scene, seeing her just beg him to stay, then realizing he won't, changing her tactic to saying, "Take me with you then. I'll help you with whatever you want to do." We all know that she can't help him get revenge. She can't help him on the path that he's taking, but she's so desperate not to lose him that she's willing to, or at least in this moment, she's willing to offer a sacrifice of what she believes in just to stay with him. And he did end up not taking her, of course, but there was so much emotion in this scene, and I thought it was really, really well done as well. I also love how Naruto handles all this. He's been rejected quite harshly earlier in the series by Sakura. He knows the pain of unrequited love. He knows the pain of rejection, and he's able to support her here and promise her that he will bring their friend back. Again, I'm seeing Naruto mature on page, and I really like that. Okay, I have a meeting in 20 minutes, so I'm gonna speed this section up a little bit so that I can give the final Naruto and Sasuke fight the time that it deserves. So I'm gonna condense this next section. So the next 4, maybe even 5 volumes were the split. Naruto and his team working together against the team, Orochi's crew. Sasuke is in a casket. But these people going up against each other. It's the camaraderie that we've built up to this point. It's the teamwork. It's fighting together. We show off some really cool and horrifying abilities. I don't need to see someone's bones come outside of their body and attack me. Like that, I don't even think I'm very sensitive to gore, or I read Junji Ito and I'm fine. But that, I don't want to see that ever again. I don't want to see that in the anime either. But anyway, we see a lot of cool abilities in action, but we also get a lot of stuff that ties back into the core themes, not just the camaraderie and the teamwork and depending on each other or the loyalty, but it's also even that one kid, the one kid who can make himself ginormous, and we get a quick flashback of him being rejected and being mocked and being bullied, but finding a best friend, someone who accepts him and loves him, and that builds a loyalty between the two of them. I loved it so much, as well as getting some really painful losses in these scenes. Side characters that weren't built up as much as others, and yet they were built up so well in such a quick amount of time that losing them really truly hurt. We also, at the end of this, we got to see Lee again. He's back. The operation was successful. He's doing great. He's also a little bit drunk in this fight because of a little mix-up. That was hilarious. And we have Gaara showing up. Gaara showed up. It's because, what was the line that he gave? It's because he has I owe Konoha a great debt. I don't even know if I'm saying the Leaf Village. Naruto, where he's from. He owes them a debt. It did affect him. That scene, Naruto, his words, it made a difference. Now, how big of a difference? I don't know, because he also said some other stuff that kind of makes me go, oh no. Are you still not, you're still on your journey? Probably, maybe. So I don't know what else we're gonna get from Gaara. I'm desperate to see it though. I'm desperate to see if he is able to find what he needs to be able to choose a path that won't be destructive for him and for anyone he comes in contact with. Or if this is an option, an opportunity for him to do that, but that doesn't mean that that's what he's gonna choose. You know, he might still just be too affected by everything that he's been through and still choose to go another route, like Sasuke is. I don't know, but I desperately want to. So Sasuke and Naruto face each other again. Sasuke is going full force. He's not holding back. He is fighting him for the kill this time. If not last time, if he wouldn't have done it last time, which I don't know, they both pulled out some pretty intense moves. This time, for sure, that's the plan. And it kills Naruto. I mean, it hurts him so much that his friend doesn't seem to think that what they've been through together and what they've built up together is actually worth anything. And Sasuke assures him, no, it's actually worth everything. We got the same flashback again of Sasuke's childhood, but this time we built on it a little bit more and saw that his brother actually told him, if you want the same eyes that I have, if you want to have this power, this horrifying power that I have, you have to kill your best friend. It's what I did. It's what you've got to do. And so here Sasuke is faced with that choice, and he's choosing, at least in this moment, to do what it takes to become more powerful. Earlier, when he faced his brother, it was that ability that trapped him in his pain, in his mental terror for 24 hours while he dealt with Naruto. He can't keep doing that. Every time he faces his brother can't just keep pulling out this move and keeping him from being able to fight him. So I guess, at least this is the way I'm interpreting all this, I really do think that scene is the determining factor, or at least like the final straw for Sasuke. So he tells him, no, actually, this has meant everything to me, and that's why you're the one that I have to kill. I did watch this fight in the anime, and it was incredible in both manga and anime. It was beautiful visually, but also emotionally. Sasuke has made his choice. He says in the battle that he believes that solitude is what will make him strong. This is the opposite of what we've been learning with Naruto this entire series so far. Other characters like Zabuza and Haku, Kakashi, Tsunade, and many others have taught Naruto how important it is to stay together and to fight for each other, that your comrades are everything. Sasuke has been split between his journey with Naruto and his quest for vengeance, and in this fight, he's displaying to Naruto that he's taking a path opposite of the one that they've been learning together. He's taking the path of isolation and power. Naruto believed in his friend, and he believed that he could convince him out of this path, that his words would have meaning in Sasuke's life like it has in other people he's faced against. But he was wrong, and that's devastating to him. I do wonder how this is going to affect Naruto moving forward, if this is going to sort of have a traumatic effect on him, that his best friend turned on him, that as he was on this path of learning how important relationships and friendships are, and loyalty, and his devotion for Sasuke and his belief in Sasuke, and to have that ripped from him. I mean, he does declare at the end of part 1 that he's not going to stop fighting for him, and I love that. But I also wonder if this is going to play a role in the way he moves forward and the way he trusts going forward. I also really like that during this fight, Sasuke has this curse on him that's taking him over, that's changing him, that he's learning to feed and to give into. And Naruto he's been on this journey as well, where he has this fox spirit in him that has all this chakra and all this power, and Naruto has been trying to learn how to tap into the spirit and how to utilize it. But in this fight, it starts to take him over. It starts to actually control him. So he too has a curse that he hasn't fully controlled, that he hasn't fully worked through, and that also is affecting him, that he too can easily lose himself in. So I like, and I could be wrong, you can give me feedback on this, but the way I'm interpreting this at this point, after I'm new, the way I'm interpreting this at this point is that these kids, they have curses on them, curses that they didn't choose, that they don't want, curses that they're trying to figure out what to do with. And it is a curse that can lend them strength. They can learn to control this and force it to work with them on the path they choose, or they can let it control the path they choose, control the direction that they go in. And in this fight, we saw that struggle in both of them. We saw both of them kind of have that physical representation of what internally they're also battling, learning to either control the curse or let the curse control them. I like when series do that, when they have that external representation of what's going on internally, and I think that Naruto does that, quite a bit, and I enjoy it a lot. But anyway, this fight ends with Sasuke not killing Naruto. He won. He won the fight. Naruto was knocked out, and he was vulnerable on the ground, and Sasuke was right there, and he left. He left Naruto to be picked up by Kakashi. So what? He chose not to do the thing. He chose not to do the thing that would give him the ability that he was after when he sought this fight with Naruto. Now, there's so many different, I don't know what to do with this. Maybe this fight wasn't entirely for the ability that his brother promised him if he won it. Maybe it was also for his own pride and his own struggles of once again being outdone, and he didn't want that. Maybe he did go into this fight fully intending to kill Naruto, and when the time came, he found that he couldn't do it, displaying to us that there's still hope for him, displaying to us that he's not completely chosen this path yet, that internal struggle is still going on. Maybe it was an act of defiance against his brother. I don't know, but I do know that he didn't make the choice when he could have done. He had the opportunity and he chose to walk away. So the rest of part 1 was sort of wrap up after this. Naruto's not giving up. Sasuke isn't either. Her name's Sakura. Sakura is not either. She actually says that she doesn't want to be standing on the sidelines anymore. She wants to actually be in the fight now. So Orochimaru also mentions that he can't actually take over Sasuke's body yet. He needs, I think it was 3 years. He needs a manga timeline so that we can have our manga time skip that allows our characters to train up and become more powerful. Is Sakura gonna do that? She says she doesn't want to fight on the sidelines anymore. Is she going to do something? I'm so happy with that. I would love to see her train up. I'd love to see her train up with Rock Lee, because she is not an anomaly, and Rock Lee is not an anomaly. They're both normal, powered kids living among giants. So I would love to see her train with Rock Lee and just become a really powerful fighter, or train with Tsunade and become a healer, or something like. You don't have to become a superhero among other superheroes, but I would love to see what you can do. Okay, I have a couple minutes before my meeting. We have to talk about the bonus story after part 1 with Kakashi. Seeing Kakashi at this stage of life as a detached kid who lived by the code because of the choices his father made, down to callously letting Rin get taken away and they just move on, It's the shinobi way. We don't abandon a mission. But once again, it's relationships that forge who these characters become. Kakashi is powerful. He's also determined, but his morality and his standards are not fully formed yet, and it's his friend that changes his view on the choices that his father made. That his father choosing his comrades was the heroic choice. We learn how he got that eye, which never made sense up to this point. We learn how he lost everyone that he loved. And it recontextualizes every scene that he was in before this. It recontextualizes his entire demeanor. It recontextualizes why he fought so hard for these kids to stay together. It recontextualizes even the bell scene and the tombstone that he showed them at the end of that. I feel like Kakashi is a character that I appreciated this entire time through, but getting this short little flashback, this short little moment in his life changed the way I viewed every single scene that I've had with him up to this point, which makes me want to go back and reread because I think that those scenes on reread, knowing what he's been through, knowing what he's lost and how he lost it, it makes me want to go back and see it all again through that lens. What an incredible way to end. I mean, part 1 ended before this, and I thought we were done, and I thought this was just, you know, a bonus side story that happens at the end of volumes sometimes in manga. But it was incredible. Anyway, I have to get to my meeting. I have really enjoyed this series. I've really enjoyed getting to know these characters, digging into the themes and discussing it with y'all. Again, I'm the newest kid in the room, so I'm sure a lot of stuff is going over my head, but I've enjoyed myself quite a bit, and I will be reading part 2. I'm really excited, especially to see more of Sasuke and Orochimaru and what is going to forge there with their relationship, with their dynamics, with how Orochimaru is going to shift and change Sasuke and what his path is going to be. So I can't wait to see that. Anyway, I post videos every Monday and Friday on this channel, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays on the book channel, which is always linked in the description. I'll see you again soon. Bye.